If you are a data protection officer, a chief information security officer, or a legal counsel navigating cross border data transfer, you already know that the regulatory terrain has transformed radically. Gone are the days when international data transfer were handled with a simple standard contractual clause using some Excel sheet trackers. Templates dropped into a vendor agreement. Since the Court of Justice of the European Union delivered its landmark Schrems II ruling, the burden placed on data controllers and processors under Chapter 5 of both the EU and UK GDPR. Now it has escalated into a complex engineering challenge. You cannot rely solely on contractual paper shields. You must evaluate whether the legal entity and legal reality, along with foreign surveillance landscape of a recipient third country, undermines the fundamental privacy rights guaranteed under European and British laws. Today, we are exploring a comprehensive enterprise-grade framework designed to tackle this operational friction head-on. The Cross-Border Data Transfer and PRA SS2/21 Transfer Impact Assessment Engine. This platform is built at the exact intersection of data privacy, statutory risk analysis, and prudential operational resilience for heavily regulated institutions. It provides a systematic, deterministic mechanism for conducting rigorous transfer impact assessment while harmonizing GDPR requirements with the Bank of England's Prudential Regulation Authority Supervisory Statement SS2/21 on material outsourcing and critical information functions. To understand why this architecture is vital, we have to look closely at what the law actually demands. Under Article 44 through 49 of GDPR, any transfer of personal data outside the European Economic Area or the United Kingdom must satisfy strict transfer mechanism unless covered by an adequacy decision, data use and data movement along with data privacy. Following Schrems II and the subsequent European Data Protection Board recommendation Jan 2020, data exporters are legally required to assess whether a recipient country's surveillance legislation, such as US FISA Section 702, Executive Order 14086, the Cloud Act, China's Data Security Law, or India's DPDP Act, infringes upon the European essential guarantees. These guarantees, defined across statutory jurisprudence, require that foreign surveillance must be based on clear, accessible rule, must demonstrate strict necessary and proportionately, must be governed by independent oversight mechanism, and must provide effective individual legal redress. If a foreign jurisdiction falls short of these standards, standard contractual clause alone are legally insufficient. The data controller is legally bound to either implement supplementary safeguards or suspend the transfer immediately. This is where the TIA engine replaces guesswork with structural risk engineering. It operates on a comprehensive three-pillar supplementary safeguards matrix. The first pillar is technical protection, grounded in EDPB Annexure 2, Use Case 1 through Use Case 3. This pillar evaluates cryptographic architecture, data estates, and sovereign key management. It checks whether data in transit and at rest is genuinely protected against third-party interception. Auditing controls such as bring your own key, hold your own key, deployment inside local on-soil hardware security modules. It assesses whether you are leveraging client-side format-preserving tokenization or split knowledge architecture where the data importer or hosting hypervisor never has access to the raw plaintext or cryptographic keys. The second pillar focuses on legal and contractual safeguards and remediation. Here, the assessment evaluates the latest modular SECs, standard contractual clauses, alongside enforceable legal commitments. These include mandatory warrant challenge clause, non-disclosure notification SLAs, requiring the importance to notify the exporter within 24 hours of receiving lawful access request, and explicit direct inspection riders under Section 165A and 166 of the UK's financial services, and market tech. The third pillar governs organizational measures, privacy, and operational resilience are continuous governance obligations. This pillar audits sub-processors, objections, mechanisms such as strict 30 days veto SLA, alongside regular Step 6 transfer re-auditing cadence and fully documented 12-month tested stressed exit playbook to ensure data can be repatriated without operational disruption. For financial institution, this privacy rigor cannot exist in a silo disconnected from prudential supervision. The engine directly integrates the Bank of England's PRA SS 2/21 framework across Chapter 2 through 10. It audits critical information functions, classifications, vendor concentration risk, operation disruption tolerance, and directly supervisory access rights. This ensures that when a Tier 1 bank migrates core ledger system or when an insurer runs global claims operations, the TIA simultaneously answers both data protection authorities and prudential regulators. To facilitate complex real-world workflows, the engine includes a curated library of 14 production-grade regulated presets. These cover high-stakes operational corridors, ranging from core banking, SaaS migration, and private wealth portfolio management to real-time biometric AML identity screening. When assessing these workflows, the engine's cognitive gap to action heuristic analyzes the transfer configuration against statutory surveillance database and surfaces actionable remediation. As controls are adopted, dynamic burnout charts and progress meter track the exact residual risk score reduction across all three pillars in real time. Those were technological controls, organizational controls, and legal remediation controls. Teams can also activate a side-by-side comparison mode to benchmark different architectural configuration or assess the data between legacy vendor setup and remediation design. A core principle of this architecture is sovereign air-gap data security. The engine is engineered to run fully offline with zero data exfiltration, ensuring that highly sensitive bank architecture diagrams and vulnerability assessments never leave the internal perimeter. For teams requiring automated drafting, it provides optional hybrid integration with local large language models via Olama, Anything LLM, or server-side Gemini endpoint. State resilience is presented through 15 seconds de-bounced local persistence and AES GCM 256 encrypted snapshots, backups which are secured by hashing rounds and tamper-evident SHA 256 verifications. When it comes to accountability and enterprise governance, every assessment is stamped with a triple-tier canonical identifier bundle, a human-readable reference, an RFC 4122 UUID, and a standard GRC URN, accompanied by a cryptographic SHA 256 fingerprint. The system compiles export-ready vector PDF compliance dossiers, formatted to the strict 5-section regulatory standard. What was the assessment scope? What are the compliance gaps? What supplementary remediations are required? What are the timelines? And what are the remarks from DPO and CRO? Furthermore, it exports native JSON schemas interoperable with ServiceNow Vendor Risk Management, OneTrust to PRA Table 5 Outsourcing Register, the Digital Operational Resilience Act Chapter 5 ICT Third Party Register, and NIST OSCL formats. Whether you are configuring the environment locally via Node 20, launching containerized Docker instances, or deploying and offline release inside a secure banking perimeter, this TIA engine demonstrates how modern organization can bridge legal theory and technical architecture by treating data protection not as a afterthought but as a rigorous engineered discipline. Institutions can maintain data sovereignty, satisfy international supervisory expectation, and protect individual privacy across every border. Coming to the demo, we have multiple tabs available. These are the profilings for the organizations. These are some custom-made profilings from UK, US, India, Singapore tier, and operations, which kind of data transfer operations are happening. Here is the LLM and database server configuration. You can use Gemini or any other API-based AI tool integration with this. It has its system health configuration a dashboard database configuration where you can integrate Postgres or SQLite or Redis or Firebase database as per your requirement with easy configurations. Local LLM, as we configure in our every tool, you can just install any local instance at your PC and use the endpoint base URL to integrate that local LLM with this tool. There are 164 items available which are contract metrics. It is a list of contracts which have been taken from best practices across the world. Moving ahead, when you go to the home, you will get a chance to export the 3 pillars remediation of the assessments that you have already performed. When you click on this, you will get a detailed report on technological, organizational, and legal remediation for the selected piece of work or transfer. Either you can save it in PDF, store it in .md or markdown format, or copy the text. There is a segregation also available where you can get individual pillar level reports. So let's say you want to send technical reports to the ITSOs, legal report to the legal remediation executives, organizational reports to the CISOs and chief data officers. These segregated reports can also be created. Moving ahead, with every preset that we discussed, you will get these kind of spider charts which will talk about where you are leaking, where your controls are not working. Right now we can see operational controls are not effective. At the same time, technical shields are scoring only 40 by 100. Going below will give you brief of remediation metrics which will talk about which kind of gaps have been identified in this cross-border data transfer impact assessment and which kind of resolutions are required. Below that, you can go to the register where you can see the compliant or non-compliant gap identified items for every preset that we have developed. Comparison mode, 2 different presets can be compared with each other. The scenarios we have developed are coming from multiple countries and we have covered Australia, India, USA, Singapore and many other countries for the cross-border data transfer requirements aligned with their local regulatory requirements. Moving with remediation graphs, you will see how many remediation steps are there, how many have been implemented, how many are laking, 4 are active items where you need to work, and your TIA has its own risk. So it will talk to you about that you have around 34 out of 100 residual risk rating. Before it was 43 out of 100 inherent risk rating. The same functionalities are here, pillar 1, pillar 2 and pillar 3. When you perform TIA, you need to remediate in 3 pillars. You can get these reports from here. Coming below, again the spider charts, and one more thing, a risk burn down and milestone trajectory will be available, that by when the organization ITSOs need to remediate the things and take the system into break-even point. A dashboard which showcases you what has been implemented and what is still awaiting for implementation. There is a lineage map also available which will talk about country to country lineages or cryptographic parameters. Here we are talking about cryptography, encryption and hardware security modules, key ceremonies. Then there is a transfer profiler which talks about the whole questionnaire, which will ask the pillar of the assessment, what are the parties, what is the scope, what is the data sensitivity, which kind of legal instruments are there, what are the technological keys available, what clauses we are going to see, and from the perspective of sub-processors also there will be a questionnaire. Moving ahead, there is a register, compliant versus non-compliant, and there is one section which is a AI clause refinement section. You can create your own policies for the preset of cross-border data transfer, and it will generate a template basis your features, basis your preset, gaps identified and remediation, that which kind of dossier or which kind of cross-border data policy covering technological, organizational and legal framework is required, and this is already printable. At the end of the section, the surveillance DB has every best practice across the world, and there is a status which talks about which server is running, new generation server is running, and container is running for last 23 hours, database latency is 14 milliseconds, and every integration with database, storage, regulatory metrics and artificial intelligence is here. If you have any feedback, please comment, and please let us know that which kind of tools, technologies you are using for performing transfer impact assessment in your organization. We are happy to hear that, and we are happy to take feedbacks and improvements ideas. Great, thanks.